Welcome to United We Spay, the show dedicated to promoting affordable spay neuter services nationwide. Each episode delves into the heart of the movement, sharing inspiring stories and driving positive change. Our goal is to raise awareness, educate, and empower, addressing overpopulation's root causes to ensure every animal has a chance for a better life. Hosted by Stacy LeBaron and the United Spay Alliance team, we're on a mission to change lives. Fed up with the fixation on symptoms in the animal welfare conversation, it's time to change the narrative. Join us on United We Spay, where we make a difference by spreading knowledge and building a compassionate world for animals. Let's put prevention first and spotlight spay neuter in the animal welfare space.
You're listening to United We Spay, a podcast from United Spay Alliance. United Spay Alliance works to promote accessible, affordable, and timely spay neuter services, because an ounce of prevention today can prevent untold suffering tomorrow. Spay Neuter, it's public health for pets. I'm Stacy LeBaron, United Spay Alliance board member and host of this show. Today on United We Spay, we're speaking with Deborah Cribbs. It's safe to say without exaggeration that the career of Deborah Cribbs is like no one else's. A banking and investment professional by training, Cribbs has spent more than 25 years with Cincinnati-based Fifth Third Bancorp and its subsidiaries, one of the largest financial institutions in the Midwest. From this foundation in investment and financial services, Cribbs was selected in 2015 to spearhead management of a major philanthropic gift from a slightly shy, slightly eccentric, but deeply determined woman in the Cincinnati community to provide resources to improve the lives of cats. Inspired by this opportunity and driven by her own vision, Cribbs helped turn that gift into something much larger. She has become a respected leader in animal welfare, known for her groundbreaking work as the founder and leader of the Give Them 10 movement and its iconic feline ambassador, Scooter, the neutered cat. Through bold public advocacy and creative campaigns, Deborah has positioned Give Them 10 as a national force for feline welfare, dedicated to giving cats one more life through strategic spay-neuter initiatives, the most humane and effective solution to feline overpopulation. Deborah, I'd like to welcome you to the show.
Thanks for having me. And wow, what an introduction.
So thank you so much for joining us. It's really always great to reconnect and continue to connect and continue to learn about how you are growing and evolving with all of this interest in cats, especially in the Cincinnati area, but also expanding it for a wider region today. But before we jump into some specific questions about the work that you've been doing over the years, how did you get to be so passionate about spay neuter and then also cats?
I've always loved cats. I had cats as a kid. I have cats right now with me in the room. But as a daytime professional, I like to say my day job is that I manage money for wealthy people. I was very close to this woman who left a large amount of money into a private foundation. And honestly, because I loved cats, she started getting cats and adopting them into her home. And it kind of became a passion for her. And then she died and she left this foundation in the care of my bank and me. And you ask, well, okay, so you love cats and you're a banker and you manage money. Great. How did you get interested in spay neuter? Well, because my team and I are financial professionals and we are now stewards of this large pot of money dedicated to initially cats in Cincinnati. I mean, that's super specific. And as fiduciaries, as stewards of this pot of money, we're like, wow, how are we gonna spend this much money and make it make sense from a business standpoint? Like, what are we really doing here? So I think it's an interesting part of the story because we took a look at this problem from the beginning. We had no knowledge. And this was a little more than a decade ago. We took a look at it as bankers, as business people. Okay, what's the problem here? What are we solving for? Cats are dying in shelters locally. Okay, that's bad. Let's agree, that's bad. Cats are being killed in shelters. Why? Okay, big question, as you know, a lot of big answers. But let's just say overpopulation and the public not taking ownership of the problem. So let's just kind of land there. Okay, what can we do about that? We don't want to just put a Band-Aid on it. Like, I mean, honestly, we felt that's what was being done kind of nationally and certainly locally. Locally, it was hide the problem from the public, kind of the old-fashioned, not progressive sheltering systems, hide the problem. So once we as business people said, we know the problem, we know there are different ways to attack it, we chose Spay Neuter. Here's the answer to your question. We chose Spay Neuter, and I love to do Spay Neuter puns, so get ready, because it was the low-hanging fruit of the problems. I know I can be so funny, and I'm a banker. And this is my job. Wow. So we started looking at this money differently. And we started right away saying, yes, we need to help our shelter system locally. Let's help them become more functional and more progressive. We believed. We did have a point of view. We do. And we believe that. But what's missing? Well, the public messaging. And we decided to be humorous, edgy, borderline inappropriate to capture attention. Hence the word testicle on local television, right? So that's how I got interested in Spay Neuter. I still believe it is the cornerstone of what needs to be done, of the work that needs to be done nationally and continually in order to make success sustainable. If you don't have Spay Neuter programs, community cat programs, sorry, you will not succeed. So, long answer.
But good one, because the last line you just said was, if you do not have Spay Neuter, you will not succeed. And in your mind, and in the mind of this wonderful woman who dedicated these funds to elevating the status of cats in the community and acknowledging them, in your mind and her mind, what does a world look like where cats are cared for in the way that they should be?
I will say that initially she would have said every cat in Cincinnati has to have a bed and a phone. That's not solving the problem, right? That's just, here's another one of my favorite little analogies, that's chasing our tails. We're not going to change anything if we're band-aiding the problem. But to answer your question, what does that world look like? That world looks like that every area, geographic area in the US, hopefully in the world someday, has super functional shelter systems. And it can be one big one or it can be a trio. But basically, vis-a-vis cats. I mean, dogs are a whole other thing. But what this looks like is a vibrant, low-cost, high-volume Spay Neuter clinic. Gotta be. With a well-run community cat program. And it does actually need to be managed. And there has to be TNR, some version of TNR within the community cat program. There needs to be a vibrant adoption center. And that adoption center has to do all the good things, including fostering, social media, and be smart about it. Data needs to be collected. These guys, this could be one institution, like I said, or just collaborators. But in every area, you need to collaborate and not be redundant in your services. Just because you think you're great at doing all these things doesn't mean you should try to have a little surgical suite in your shelter and a little adoption center. And maybe you can do 100 cats a year. If you collaborated with others, think of what you could do. Just think of what you can do if you specialize. So to us, that's what success looks like, that no cats are killed for space ever in any shelter system. And every community can come up with their own numbers, but I would suggest the live release rate needs to be certainly north of 90%. And you have to get your intake to stabilize. How do you do that? Again, low-hanging fruit, community cat programs, no question. After community cat programs are installed and your live release rate immediately goes to 80% or so, okay, then you're really looking at the functionality of the shelter system. And there are obviously lots of best practices beyond that. But the cornerstone is Spay Neuter, no question.
Excellent. That was just like a master class right there of what to do within your community to get to success, right? We hear so many folks say you can't do it. And I understand you were very privileged to get access to funding and understanding that there's long-term sustainability. It's not like the linear line. It's ongoing management, maintenance. In Europe, they call it getting to that balanced level that you want to be at. So it doesn't mean services stop because you're there. It's just you're trying to maintain a certain balance among all these different levers that then we understand that this is just how we care for the cats and their families in the communities.
Absolutely. I couldn't have said that better. There's a level of sustainability where no cats are being killed for space, where intake is manageable. And again, each community has a different set of numbers here, where there's a robust foster system, robust volunteer system within each shelter community. And again, I think it's super important that data be shared with the public. So generally on websites or social or whatever, but talk to the public about the problems that you have. And I tell you what, the public will respond. Hiding it is no longer the best practice. But the single most effective tool, if you are a shelter system struggling with this, is a community cat program. And the most fervent objection that I have heard, and I'm sure you're an expert at this, is no, we can't do that because the neighborhoods won't allow cats to be repatriated back into the neighborhood. There's so much data now over the last decade that says that is just not true. And I've been involved in community cat programs that we funded. You're right. We're lucky. We've got funding. So we can help jumpstart spay neuter programs because we've got funding, sure. But that objection does not hold true as far as I have seen. You start these programs, you do something as simple as door hangers or emails or social explaining what you're doing. And the number of actual complaints to the shelter is absolutely minimal. And frankly, any objections that you might get gives you a great one-on-one opportunity to educate somebody.
Yeah. And it's funny because I teach this course, a community cat program management course at the University of the Pacific, Barnard College. And I asked, we have 57 students in the class, and I had asked them, of the colonies of cats that you have out there that are spayed and neutered at 100%, you're at 100%, how many of you have received complaints from those areas? Not one hand went up, other than, I should say, one hand did go up, but the person was complaining because the cat was getting too friendly.
That's funny.
So I don't count that really as a complaint, but she was like, they're supposed to be feral and shy and this one's now coming around, which is not, in my mind, not a terrible problem to have. And so to be able to make that statement that if we get all of the cats spayed or neutered in this area, number one, all the kitten mortality disappears, and the kittens and the behavior of the unspayed or neutered adult cats, the male cats, which, Scooter shows us quite wonderfully why it's good to be neutered. And so taking all those behaviors away, ultimately reducing the cat population in that area, is a great testimonial to have, for sure.
Absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, it's data. And we handle our funding and manage to success and data. We're not afraid to fail. If something doesn't work, we'll pivot away from it. And we will take anybody's data as proof of concept. We're not a silo, and we'll share. We will always share our data and our collateral materials. But there are best practices out there. Just don't be a silo. Find out what the best practices are and do them. I'm not saying that it's not rocket science. There are barriers to break down in each community. I'm not negating that. But I do think, here's where I get on my high horse, my high cat, that this testimony of a fine society of humans is certainly how we treat the animals in our care. And these domesticated beings, we created, we domesticated. It's our job to take care of whatever problem exists in each community. I do feel very passionately about that. So I'm privileged to be able to work on it.
Big challenges need strong connections. That's why United Spay Alliance created our State Leader Network. a group of passionate, proven advocates from across the country, all committed to making spay neuter accessible to every community. Members are hand-selected for their dedication, expertise, and impact, making this a trusted space for collaboration and problem solving. Think you might be a good fit? Learn more at unitedspayalliance.org or email info@unitedspayalliance.org to start the conversation. Yeah. And so many people in our audience are on the fundraiser side, meaning in a nonprofit doing fundraisers. We have our Community Cats Grants program. We are teaching people how to fundraise and how to build their own capacity and their own sustainability, to be independent, to be able to be that fundraising advocate for cats in their community. But you're the person who writes the checks, right? You hear the proposals from folks. As you say, we're not afraid to try something new. We're not afraid to fail. As a foundation, there are certain limitations to what you can do legally and not legally. And I didn't know if you'd be willing to just touch upon some of the creative options that you addressed. I believe it was in Kentucky, trying to be able to fund and get access some spay neuter in that area. I believe it was it with a community foundation of some type? A way to be able to get money where it needs to go, where you might not think you'd be able to support.
Yeah, I think what you're referring to, we have a really vibrant program in Northern Kentucky, which is actually where I'm sitting right now. It's Cincinnati. And it is run by a rock star in the animal world, Dr. Sarah Pisano. She contracts with us and she runs our Northern Kentucky program. And this might be a little too specific, but you said creative. So just as an idea for your listeners, Kentucky is kind of weird that it's divided into counties, and because some of the counties are small and rural and poor, they have these area development districts. So there might be 10 counties and there are maybe 8 development districts or something like that in Kentucky, maybe 10. But what we realized was that Kentucky had the infrastructure for charitable work and, let's just say, good works. They have the infrastructure to use these area development districts to do work bigger on a broader geography and in a much more functional business-like manner, because it is a governmental entity that is kind of spearheading, auditing, managing the money of the programs. And up until the time we got involved, they had only done human works. So basically you have the government entity, but they formed the 501c3 within it, and they were doing human charitable work, let's say. So we went to them and said, well, hey, you've already got all this infrastructure. Humans and pets are super tied together. Your humans are more healthy if their pets are more healthy. Your communities are better if you don't have cats dying on the streets, which, I mean, there really are cats dying on the streets, but dying in shelters anyway. And that really works. We got a buy-in. We're working in, I think, 4 of the ADDs now, and it's a patched together program, but they are community cat programs, period. So it was kind of a creative way of doing it. And I'll tell you, that was interesting. Dr. Pisano is an expert at looking at rules and regulations, laws locally. And if they are not to the benefit of animals, dogs and cats, she is an expert at speaking to the leaders, the government leaders, whatever they may be called, up to governors, about changing those laws and regulations that get in the way of all the good work we're doing, right? Everybody listening knows about these. So we did have to do some of that. Some of these, I'm going to say laws, had to be addressed, stray holds, stuff like that. But we have succeeded kind of wildly in North Kentucky. I remember a few years ago, one of the other big national groups was creating a hot map for where are we gonna put our attention. We're gonna send people and embed them in, I don't remember exactly, 5 states. Who's gonna get our attention? And from one year to the next, Kentucky was gonna get their attention, and then all of a sudden, Kentucky's numbers are like, hey, this is pretty good. And I thought, wow, is that an unintended consequence? Kentucky didn't get that attention from that great national group, but it's a super successful program, and it showed a great deal of creativity initially to figure out how to do it, if that's the one you mean.
Yeah, 100%. That is the one that I mean. And the reason I bring this forward as an example is that having these multi-layered systems and thinking outside the box. So if I'm a small grassroots organization, $100,000 a year, $50,000 a year budget, I still should be introducing myself to my local community foundation. I should still be introducing myself to the local council on aging, because you never know what collaborative opportunities might be available. People are putting their donor advised funds in these community foundations, and might be the little cat lady who, is there and has the donor advised fund there, and they don't know what I want to give to the kitties, honey. What should I do? And I shouldn't say that, but I'll say cat man, I'll say cat lover person out there, advocate, but they need the guidance. They need the help, right? And so they go to the community foundation for that type of support. But if they don't know about you, they're not going to think about you. And they'll be like, well, I want to give to my small local group. I don't want to give to a big group. Is there a local group out there that helps the kitties? And so that's really one of the reasons why I brought that forward, is as we're all thinking about crafting, creating, building, sustaining our spay neuter initiatives in our communities, that's where potentially those strategic thinkers are. Because I do feel like the spay neuter conversation is at a bit of a higher level than the little kitten needs money conversation. And I think that people who have created, talking to the banker here, created ways of doing charitable contributions in a way that they might be willing to think about a little higher level type donation. I'm not sure if that has been your experience in the banking world.
Somewhat. I would say, first of all, big sales won't get you there. I'm sorry, no disrespect, but big sales won't get you there. And even if you are a super small organization, somebody better be good at computer work. And that's a hard line. If you can't do social media and you don't know how to write a grant, you're never going to scale. You're not going to get bigger. An organization like mine will only deal with the more functional groups in terms of recipients to our grants. And that is very deliberate, because we want our work to be as sustainable as possible. And that aggravates some small players locally over the years. I am both loved and hated because of that, but I make no apology for that. I'm a steward of a pot of money. I am trying to solve a problem. We've done really well in Cincinnati working toward that. We are so proud of the work we've done, but I will not apologize that we won't give to every cat person who does good work. So what you said is super important. Leverage yourself as let's talk about a small organization, $100,000 budget. You got to know how to use a computer. So first of all, you could apply for grants. Now, the smaller you are, you may not make the cut to deal with a lot of the grant makers. Fine. Do what you said. Leverage yourself with a larger organization. And you know what? I am over this idea that we are competitors. Shelter systems are competitors. I get it. You are competing for the same donor dollars locally. It's not that I don't understand it. But if the mission is to do good work and save the lives of cats, I have very little tolerance for these people who I have run into in every area we work, who are siloed, I'll use that word again, and trying to keep all of the whatever success they're having to themselves. Sorry, no. If you collaborate, probably you will find that you're going to do better, even your small organization. And you said something really good. So in my world as a banker, the donor advised funds, huge way of receiving and making charitable gifts. A lot of people that set up donor advised funds, and there are like Fidelity and Schwab are the biggest holders of them, but every big city in the US has some kind of, like you said, community foundation. Within that community foundation are thousands of families locally who have set up a pot of money to give away. They do tend to like to work locally, and they are generally very specific in the things that they want to support. And the donor advised fund, the community foundation, generally will have a list of 10 of every category that they have vetted. So especially, imagine if you're a little shelter and you do it all. You do a little bit of spay neuter. You got a vet that you work with. You do some adoptions. You've got some fun. You do it all yourself, but you're small and you've never gotten bigger. Why? Because everybody's too busy just doing this work. You don't have anybody trying to help you grow. What if you became the center of the universe for feline leukemia cats? I'm making this up. And you became the expert for feline leukemia cats in your region. Imagine how you could market yourself as a recipient to very specific kinds of grants. If you hold yourself up as an expert and you can back that up. And what I just said, isn't that far reaching, right?
Right. And you're touching upon some of the things too, which is if you are an organization that's willing to be flexible to the needs of the community at that particular time, you will be looked at as the expert in the community. So you do your community cats needs assessment and you realize nobody is dealing with feline leukemia cats in this county or region. Let's become the expert and focus our energies. We've got 10 bottle baby neonatal kitten nurseries going. We don't need to do that. We need to do what isn't being done. And we're willing to be the utility player for the team, the one who's willing to play any position, because that means we'll be sustainable because we're necessary. We may know all the skills, we focus on one, but we're able to pivot and switch around as needed.
I love everything that you just said. And what I find is that a lot of these groups are just stuck in their own story and not doing what you said. Hey, look around and see what's the missing piece. Utility player, great analogy, but what's the missing piece? It's probably not bottle babies. That's a big one and super expensive. I mean, that's a hard one. And if you become the expert on bottle babies, you better have a pretty big organization to take care of that. That's a big one. Whereas I think feline leukemia, I'm not offering which thing you should choose, but if you can choose something, I'm just saying as a donor, it gives me an opportunity to look at a smaller player differently.
Yeah, for sure. The Merrimack River Feline Rescue Society that I ran for 16 years, we used to be like the big feline leukemia organization because we were the only organization in the state that would adopt out feline leukemia positive cats. Now everybody does it in the state. And we actually have a wait list of people looking for feline leukemia positive cats rather than having them. And so we have to network with other organizations trying to find them. And times change and we have to adapt with the times and how the situation is changed. I want to just quickly circle back because at United Spay Alliance, we have Feline Fixed by 5. And we connected with the Give Them 10 team about Feline Fixed by 5. And I'm just curious from your perspective, why did this become such a great partnership and why did we do this? I mean, from your perspective.
Well, first, it's the right thing, of course. It's new information for the public. Hey, your vet may have told you 6 months, but guess what? That really isn't modern science. It's catchy, 6 by 5. So we like catchy, and it's spot on within our mission. So we have a really good reach in terms of social media and digital advertising and all of that kind of stuff. So this is a perfect topic for us. It's just spot on what we want to work on. And I will say we definitely had some good success, but we have had success in the world of marketing in helping to change the public's point of view. And I think this is a really good example of one that's just not that hard. That's not that big of a barrier. 6 by 5. And since we have had success on some of our other campaigns over the last decade in messaging and changing like a cultural shift, we think this is a good next effort. And we love amplifying our message. Just what I was saying, collaborate.
Right.
Leverage your message, leverage your skills. So yeah, it's a perfect marriage.
We at the United Spay Alliance, we certainly appreciate it. Just trying to get that language, get that 5 months in everybody's minds and cats and keeping our messaging to cats separate from the dog conversation. Cats are very different. They are not small dogs. They are cats. And we need to have our messaging and our voices just very focused on the feline and not compare it to say, well, we do this over here, so we should do this over here. No, cats are unique, and we have our own little package of how we take care of them.
Absolutely. And I will say a lot of our success has come in visual arts, if I may. So we started out filming commercials. We still own them and run them on digital and TV platforms. But our work in the last year has been, we have an illustrator that makes cute little kitty looking things to talk about whatever, spay, neuter, adopt. We've got a super cute one that says, how can you tell if a cat is fixed? And it's humorous and it's eye catching. So I was going to say, Fixed by 5, it's easy to put some of these infographics in with Fixed by 5. And again, it's catchy. Catchy is good. But the visual arts are a great way, to your point, to cut through the noise. And if it's visually a picture of a kitty, it just hones in on, nope, this is not a little dog. This is an actual other animal. This is a cat. So I think that's how we're directing the public's attention to the fact this is cat, because all of our pictures and film, they're all cats.
Want fewer kittens in shelters? Spay and neuter before 5 months. Learn why and spread the word at felinefixedby5.org. We haven't really shared this with the audience, so I just want to make sure that this is out there. There are ways, so say I have a spay neuter clinic in Connecticut. How do I take advantage of opportunities with Give Them 10?
Well, we have a program that we run nationally that offers all of our materials for pretty much nothing to anybody who qualifies. And that's there's a barrier for sure. If you go to our website, you can learn so much from our website, givethem10.org, and take a look. We call it a licensee program. If you qualify, you could use kind of any and all of our materials and just brand them for you. Yeah, you can take off our logo and city and put your own. And we've had some success. We're kind of spread throughout the country in various shelter systems doing that. We're looking at other opportunities also to flex our muscles nationally. But that's essentially it. We've created some super cool, let's just call them ads. Nowadays, they run digitally more than anything and on social, but we've created some really great stuff. So take a look at it and follow Scooter the Neutered Cat. He's everywhere. We're TikTok people. You kind of have to be TikTok people nowadays. And I've got a team that, it's crazy. They do nothing but, that's their job, to make TikTok videos of cats. It's fun. They're really funny. We always lead with humor, so they're super funny. So go look at them and share them. Follow us, follow Scooter, share, all those things, and that gets you as part of our community right away.
I also heard that Give Them 10 is working on some research to better determine the emotions pet owners have about spay neuter. Could you share more?
Not a lot, because we haven't completed it yet. But over the last decade, we have done some market research, actual market research. And I got to say, in just these 10 years, it's much easier because you can do polling digitally. You don't have to get everybody in a room like in the olden days and ask their opinion. You can do it much simpler, so it's much faster, so you can get the answers much faster. But we thought it was important to go back to the well, as it were. There have always been some myths associated with spay neuter. And we did a lot of research a decade ago just on what do people actually think about spay neuter. We're going about it a little bit differently this time. We're asking more for emotions. How do you intellectually believe spay neuter is good or bad? How does it make you feel? The spay neuter within your household. Are there emotions attached to it? So no, I can't say much more because we don't have the results yet. But we really do hope that with some direction from market research, we can further hone in on the audience with the right message at the right time. So, you can hear from this. We're pretty involved in data and facts.
Yeah.
So stay tuned. Hopefully we'll have some data and facts for you.
Will do, definitely. It sounds very exciting. And we'll definitely keep folks updated and informed with regards to that research. And I'm a big fan of it too. At the Community Cats podcast, I do a Community Cat sentiment survey, sort of modeled after the American Association of Individual Investors. They're bullish, bearish, or neutral. I sort of modeled it on that. So at different points of the year, you can see where the trend lines are for the people feeling about their colony sizes, and sort of how does population growth look like on a seasonal basis as well as on an annual basis. So that's sort of my dream, to bring some economic theory sort of into the cat space, which you don't think about cats and economics having a relationship, but there's a substantial relationship there.
Love it. I love everything you just said.
So as we wrap up here, Deborah, if folks had one takeaway from our conversation today, what do you think it would be?
Well, selfishly, go check out our materials, because our dream is for Scooter to live all over the world in every community, because he has a good message that we all agree with: spay neuter and take care of your cats. But actually, my dream is something more like, if everybody in the public realized, if you see a cat, take responsibility to make sure that cat is fixed. That's all you got to do. That would be, man, my work would be done.
Yep, 100%. So let's just give that again. How do people find out more about Give Them 10? Super easy, right?
GiveThem10.org.
Excellent. All right, Deborah, want to thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you all for listening and tuning in. If you like this episode, be sure to share and subscribe. We release a new episode every month highlighting important conversations and inspirational stories from the spay neuter movement in the U.S. and around the world. For more resources for spay neuter and learn more about our work at unitedspayalliance.org, just get in touch with us at any time at info@unitedspayalliance.org. Until next time.